Shalom to my brothers and sisters in the body of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, who is called the bride of the Messiah. And shalom, shalom to the scattered Hebrew Israelites who are throughout the four corners of the earth, who is called the bride of Yahuwah. Today I bring you a very interesting video. And excuse me, I'm outside again, so you will hear some background noises. But this video is a part of our history and a confirmation on who we really are. For the Negroes are the children of Israel. No other nation or people have the kind of history that we have, or certain signs that are placed upon them. We are truly bearing the curses that are written in Deuteronomy 28 as well as other chapters, which are one of the signs to let you know we are the children of Israel. And many of my brothers and sisters are being awakened by the Spirit of Yah. See, many are under the impressions that we are awakened by the camps, but that's not true. Some of us are awakened by some of those camps, but the camps do not represent us as a whole. Many brothers and sisters now are being awakened by Yah personally through dreams, visions, also through his messengers, his prophets, and his prophetess. So this video that I'm sharing with you is titled The True Israelite in the Holy Land 1997 video by B.E.T. And I will list the original video link, but it comes from Abraham on Monte channel, okay? Now, I know some of you may be familiar with the history of my people who are living in Dimona, Israel, and they too identify themselves as the Hebrew Israelites. And their leader was Ben-Amin. Now I am also aware you may have heard of the good and the bad. So I want to explain this situation. See, the words say we prophesy in part and we know in part. We do not have all the details to the story. Okay, that's about to play out in these last days, dealing with the Most High Word and his prophetic messages. We only have like the highlights of what he wants us to know. Okay. Now, it's a reason why my people are in Israel and why they are in Dimona, which is very ironic because they are what's the word I'm looking for? They are right below the true Jerusalem, which brings us to this. I'm gonna have to minimize my screen. Hold on. So I'm gonna get this a while to open up. Oh, let me open it like this. That way it'd be better. Which brings us to this, okay? Why are my people there? And I'm gonna tell you, it is by the hand of Yah. And I truly believe my brother Ben-Amin and what he saw, because let me tell you something. When you read the whole word for yourself, you will understand what Ben-Amin is talking about. Y'all even may look at Ben-Amin, some of you may look at Ben-Amin as a bad leader, and some of you may look at Ben-Amin as a good leader. But when you read the whole volume of the book, you know that every man is made of flesh. So they're going to make mistakes and errors. And believe me, the Most High shall hold all of us accountable for what we do. Okay? I want to make that clear. So I'm not making any excuses for any actions that he has done, but I just want to bring to your attention that he's a man, just like you are a man or woman and in the flesh. For example, in the Bible, you have King Saul as an example of the anointing and being upon him and how he was chosen. But when you study the life of King Saul, you know that he also makes mistakes. And the Most High turned his back on him. Okay. Also in the Old Testament, there was a prophet that the Most High sent out to do his will. And he warned that prophet that he must leave that city and must not fellowship with anyone. Okay. The prophet finished the assignment, but he eventually was convinced by someone to stay in fellowship. And because that prophet was disobedient, he was killed by a lion. The reason why I'm giving you these two examples, because many of us put too much expectation on a man that's in the flesh. And when someone makes errors or do a wicked act, our hopes of them is too high on them. In other words, we exalt them and our hopes are so high, and then when they fall, we judge them as far as what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to find the best word to explain what I'm saying. We look down upon them, and because we look down upon them, we think they was not chosen by the Most High. But I want to let you know something. The Most High can choose anyone, okay? But they don't, and just because the Most High chose them, that don't mean that person is not going to make mistakes. That does not mean that person is not going to commit wickedness or sin or transgression, because that person is still in the flesh. So I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I truly want you to watch this documentary and hear the whole story of the matter, because for my people to be in that land, it is by the hand of the Most High, especially being surrounded by their enemies and dealing with racism. Another proof in the video is going to give you the true characteristics of what the people of Palestine truly look like during biblical times. There is a remnant of them still there in their true original characteristic. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so I want you to watch this video. So let us begin. Okay. So the day is September 29, 2017 AD, and it's Friday night. And this is the 7th month of the Most High calendar, and it's the 9th day. And the Most High day begins from sundown to sundown, for he is the Father of light, from September 29th to September 30th. Now for some quick announcements, because once you watch this documentary, I know that you will want more information. Also, because we're in the 7th month, this is a holy month, and this is the month that the Messiah is born. When you understand the mystery of Tekrafah and how the 7th month was originally the first month before the Most High changed it to a B.E.T, okay? Read the book of Exodus and you'll see that it was changed during that time, okay? But the 7th month was the first month, but now it's the 7th month now. And the mystery of the 7th month is that the beginning shall meet the end. And it represents even the Messiah, because this is the month that the Messiah was born. And is he not the first and the last? And also he often said what is, what was, and what's yet to come. So when you get a chance, look at the word Tekrafah, and you will see it in the King James 1611 Bible in the Hebrew language. Okay. As for the other announcement, our Father is speaking now unto us, letting us know who are the Israelites and who are the Gentiles. He has a message for the bride, the 144,000, and for the nation of Israel. Please listen to Yahuwah prophetic message, especially I'm coming for you, part 1 and part 2, and also for the awakening call. Please check the video description box or the pinned comment section for these videos. Now, other videos to give you more understanding about the Holy Land, which is called Israel. Many are not aware that it's located in Northeast Africa. And the videos will talk more about that. Again, it'll prove who we are and why the Negroes are the children of Israel. Also, to give you more understanding about the true Jerusalem. Yes, there are two Jerusalem in the land of Israel. One of them is the Amorite Jerusalem, and the other is the Jebusite Jerusalem. Watch those two videos to get more understanding. And as far as dealing with your lineage is based on your father's side. Here's a video improved to let you see what the other nations believe in other countries. For America has taught us the wrong way. But when you read the Bible, you would even see that evidence. For example, just read Genesis chapter 10. This is how the tribes/nations of the earth is established. It's established by your father lineage. And also, most of people are not aware about Yahuwah, who is the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is an Israelite, for he is the father of the Israelites. So that video will be posted for you to watch. Now, most importantly, To understand why we have so many false doctrines out here, even in some of the One West Hebrew Israelite camps, please watch this video titled President Trump Comment and the Source of Satan False Documents. And then you begin to understand the root and where it's coming from. Okay? And we want to keep these three people in mind. Brother YAHUWAH and his family. The mother of India Kager, who was killed by the Virginia Beach police in the car, and her former old baby was in the car with her, but her baby is alive. And Sister Catherine's nephew, who is named Timothy Davis, for he was brutally beaten and stripped naked by the cops in the Columbus, Ohio area. Please watch those videos to get their testimonies and to keep them in the prayers, okay? And for the rest of the videos, we'll be listed in the description box. I do want to show you that picture. This is Brother YAHUWAH and his family. This is this is the mother of India Kager. And this is Sister Catherine. Okay. What I'm sharing with you is just a small tip of the true oppression and affliction that the Negroes are going throughout the four corners of the earth. Again, no other nation of people, I'm talking about nation of people as a whole, are experiencing what we are experiencing. For we truly are bearing these curses today. Okay, so now let us get to documentary. I'm sorry about that. Let's see here.
And a very special place called Dimona, Israel, to bring you this special.
Let me start it from the beginning. There we go.
I'm Bev Smith, and I've traveled to the Holy Land, and a very special place called Dimona, Israel, to bring you this special edition of our voices. Since 1967, hundreds of African Americans have been returning to Israel, stating that they have a claim, a rightful claim, as Hebrew Israelites to the Holy Land. The debate continues as the U.S. and Israeli government ponders the question, why Israel and not Africa? Israel. It's called the holiest of holy lands in the world, the land of milk and honey, the place where Moses led former slaves out of bondage. It's a land where politics and religion have gone hand in hand for thousands of years. It's no surprise that a group of African Americans, descendants of slaves themselves, would seek out the promised land for their freedom. Frustrated with America's racism and feeling disenfranchised from American society, they journeyed to Israel for a taste of freedom. I wanted to know why these blacks felt they had a claim to Israel. So I went to the city of Dimona where they settled, and I learned it began with a dream. A vision had by Ben-Ami, the man they call the anointed spiritual leader of the African Hebrew Israelite. How did you know that the voice and the vision was truly sent from God?
I did not know. You know, that's the key element to faith. See, the words were so powerful when the angel Gabriel came to bring the message that it was time to start the journey back. I did not know. As a matter of fact, I felt like Moses in the wilderness of sin. I really wanted to talk a little bit more to Gabriel and to ask him to show me his credentials and to pose the question to the Creator. How would I know if these things would truly come to pass? But that was it. I had to walk out on the water by faith, not knowing if these things truly would come to pass or not. There was no further message at that time except that it was time to declare the Exodus in 1967. There I was in February of 1966, pondering, how would I convince any significant number of African Americans to, in fact, leave the United States in less than 2 years?
But did you question in your soul and in your spirit, why Israel and not Africa? Or was it one and the same to you?
No, at that time, that I knew that Israel was northeastern Africa. only to be separated by the Suez Canal. But there were so many things that I did not know at that time when the word of God did come.
Ben-Ami says the message spoken to him was so powerful that his mission would guide him on a journey through Liberia, then onward to Israel. Why through Liberia? Why not a plane directly to Israel?
Because we had to sojourn. The words in the book of Revelation had forewarned us that we would have to sojourn in the interior of Liberia, as our fathers in the wilderness of Sin, they had to sojourn there in preparation for their entry into the promised land. We had to prepare ourselves in the wilderness of Liberia. And as we go back now historically once again, I did not know that it would be Liberia. It says that we should return to the promised land in the same manner that we had journeyed from the promised land.
Under the spiritual leadership of Ben-Ami, the first pilgrims made their way to Liberia. It wasn't an easy journey, and they suffered the raft of the jungle. It was an inconvenience they were willing to endure because the alternative was life in America.
I remember the bush, where we lived at. I remember things like almost getting bit by a snake. I remember being attacked by a driver ant. I remember the little chickens that used to run through the house, would put a little tent and be up in the kitchen. And I remember my friends. I remember my grandmother in her home. And
your whole family went?
Yes.
She remembers snakes. Why Liberia?
Liberia was in 1821 set up for freed slaves by the United States government. We didn't know where to go. When we decided, when the word came to us that we had to go back to Africa, we didn't know where to go. We were young men. But someone stood up and said, Liberia is the place. Why Liberia? Because that's the place where it has an open door policy for black Americans. And so then that's the direction that we went. That was the West Coast. We knew we were picked up on the West Coast, and we were going back, retracing our steps. And at the same time, fulfilling the prophecies going back by way of the wilderness to be tried by the God of Israel.
I wondered what would make people believe Ben-Ami's vision. And in most cases, it came down to personal convictions and wanting change. But you have homes, you have families, you have ways of life. You know nothing about this new land, whether you will be accepted or what. What makes you decide to give it all up? I'm looking at you to ask the question.
Well, I'll have to go back to Chicago too. And then my learning about the Exodus, what we call the Exodus, which is leaping up out of America, going to the land of Israel, because this was our home, it was the promised land. And learning that we were not Americans, that we were brought to America as slaves. We were never American citizens like that. We were more like American subjects. I was working at a company called the Wrigley Chewing Gum Factory. I've been working there some 14 years. Thought I was kind of superior. But it was something from within upon hearing the word from Ben-Ami that he had received a vision from the God of Israel, that it was time to begin the journey back to Israel. And it was something about that I guess it might have to be God himself, that I knew I had to go.
You didn't say, is this the voice of God, or is this Charlton Heston?
No, I based it on facts. As we began to study and to learn and to be taught from the Bible, which we see as a history book, the most authentic history book that we could find even today. And we began to trace our history from that book. And that began to open up so many channels in our minds that the calling was there. The calling was by the prophets of old. It was always there. For example, in the book of Deuteronomy, 30th chapter, verse 1 through 7, it says that when all these curses, and we know we were under curse because there's no way that we could have been in the condition that we were in without being cursed by God.
And so now you are in Liberia. Your children are in Liberia. And then, but your goal is to get to Israel. How do you translate Liberia to Israel?
Well, we're yet being chartered by the Holy Spirit and the prophecies of the God of Israel.
Yet being chartered.
Yes, you see, the prophets of old laid out a chartered a way back for us. And so we were to go through the wilderness, as written in the book of Ezekiel. And there in the wilderness we would be tried by the Holy One of Israel and pleaded with face to face. And so Liberia, we didn't go into the capital city, Monrovia, but we went 110 miles into the bush. When I say bush, I mean jungle, raw jungle. The grass would grow so fast, as soon as you would cut it, you could see it growing back. So there we went, and with tents, very green, neophytes, not knowing, really, not going, we didn't spend too much time overnight in the forest preserves. But here we were in the bush, really not knowing how to handle ourselves. Because we arrived at a time, I think it was close to the rainy season. And when it rained on those tents, she didn't say that I'll give you the whole story, but the water came through the tents.
You couldn't keep anything dry.
No. Until we became, the Liberians taught us, well, you need to build a rafter to sit them on.
Oh, you say the Liberians taught you.
Yeah.
Was there an automatic welcome home, brother, from them? And you all can join in now. I don't want to point. This is not a classroom. And I couldn't give you directions anyway. This is not a classroom, but I want you all to join in and have a conversation. And to the young ones, with the driver ants, you can remember, join in. Go ahead.
Well, upon our arrival, my family, I went to Liberia, myself and 5 children. Just myself and 5 children. I left my former wife, which she refused to accept anything that I was talking about. I said I was crazy and thus and thus and thus. So
you took the children?
I took the children. And I left.
Today it would be called kidnapping. You know that,
the oldest one was 11 years old and the youngest one was 9 months.
You took 5 kids without a woman to the bush of Liberia during the rainy season because you heard God and you were on your way to Israel?
I was on my way to Israel.
Do you wonder, darling, why she called you crazy? Swim low, swim clear. When you come to Israel, there are papers that must be had. There are proper identification that must be had. There is the government that must look at these papers and allow you in. You didn't have the papers, did you? So what did you do? Let's hear from you. What did you do?
Well, we came. I was in the second group. We came in 2 groups after Prince Gabriel had came in 1968. You came.
I came in 1969.
There were 2 groups that came. I was with the second group. And the first group that came in, which Yazisha was in, and they held them there at the airport for 24 hours or something before they would even, made places for them. When I came...
Hold that for a moment. You had all your children and you had to stay at the airport?
Yes. The baby was 4 months old. And I had 5 children by that time. And they took us to a secluded part of the airport and told us to have a seat while they would, Prince Yahuwah met us there, while he was making arrangements for us to be accepted under the law of return. And so we spent the night there, and people in the airport were bringing us sandwiches and drinks and bottles for the baby, and all people in the airport were crying, and they were saying, the people have come home, the people have come home.
And these are white Israelis.
Yes.
So wait. White Israelis recognized that you were the people.
Right.
The government of Israel held you up.
Yes.
At that time.
Arriving into Israel didn't go as smoothly as they expected. The Israeli government was not anxious to welcome them, and so I asked the ambassador at large of the African Hebrew Israelites, Prince Asiel ben Israel, to explain why.
So when we appeared on the scene here in Israel, they were prepared to receive us if we were nice Negroes and would accept the definition of how they defined us. But when we said that we were the descendants of the biblical Israelites, we then took charge of our destiny. And that began the problem, because now we were free African Americans talking and defining our future, not according to the past of someone else's definition, but how we now received and perceived ourselves.
Obtaining Israeli citizenship has been a continual battle for the African Hebrew Israelites. It's been nearly 30 years and still no citizenship. They were surprised by the delay because Israel's law of return guaranteed citizenship status. But the law of return was clear.
Yes.
The law said that if you have a claim to the land, you are a citizen. Claim to the land was spelled out. 1, you must be born of a Jewish mother. Did African Americans from Israel, on their way to Israel, fit in anywhere in the law of return?
Absolutely. In 1969, when we first arrived here, the law of return simply said you had to believe that you were a Jew in your heart and worship and keep the laws of the God of Israel in the state. We met the total criteria from December of 1969, but by March of 1970, the law was changed to read that you had to be born of a Jewish mother or convert to Judaism according to halakha, a European form of Judaism. They tried to factor us out of it because now the door was open, because we came basing it on biblical truth and not traditions of man that established who were the true descendants of this land.
It seemed to me that in order for the African Hebrew Israelites to become citizens, they needed allies in the Israeli government. The first ally was Jacques Amir, who was a member of the Knesset and later the mayor of Dimona. What made you decide to help blacks in Dimona here in Israel?
למה החלטת לעזור את השחורים פה בדימונה?
הבעיה היא לא החלטה.
The problem was not the
הבעיה
decision.
שהייתי ראש עיר בפעם הראשונה בבחירות אישיות ישירות.
The problem was that he was the mayor by election.
מה שהיום ראש הממשלה בבחירות אישיות.
But today we have direct elections.
הרגשתי.
And he felt
שהאחריות
that the responsibility of the city of Dimona and what happens in Dimona rested on his shoulders. Because the citizens, they didn't just choose his party, but they chose him personally. And he knows that many people in his party, they of the opposite party chose Begin, and that he was from the opposing party in Dimona as the mayor.
I asked Mr. Amir, why was the Knesset concerned with the African Hebrew Israelites living in Dimona?
One of the biggest problems so was between what happened, what they would call at the time as the black Hebrews, that the first arrivees received status as new immigrants. At that time it was the Minister of Interior, Shapir, and Yigal Alon, who was from the Labour Party, and he was the Minister of Absorption. After the first group was absorbed in Dimona and received the assistance of the Ministry of Absorption, and others decided to come. And they didn't receive they didn't receive the benefits of new immigrants as the first arrivees had. But they came to Dimona. And so they came to a city where there was no budget for them, and really no place for them. And the
city municipality was not rich. They didn't have a budget to handle the influx.
The African Hebrew Israelites were placed in the city of Dimona to discourage them. It is a city that is a refugee melting pot, and their first living conditions were poor at best.
There were too many people in one apartment. They were cooking for a number of people. They were using bomb shelters, converting them to places of use. And the citizens of Dimona saw that as a disturbance to the normal lifestyle. And they were concerned that their neighborhoods, the quality of neighborhood would be decreased.
I also spoke with the current city spokesman for the city of Dimona, Mati Kenyon. He said the relationship between the African Hebrew Israelites and the city of Dimona is a good one. If that is the case, I asked, why was it taking so long for them to become citizens?
If it was up to us, it wouldn't take so long for them to get citizenship. But the things that we do also to help the community in the direction of citizenship. I would like to explain that 2 to 3 years ago there wasn't a school for the children of the community, and we did very diligent work that the Hebrews would receive education like all the other children in Dimona. We want all the children in Dimona to receive good education like the children in Tel Aviv. When we talk about the children of Dimona, we speak of also the children of the Hebrew community.
How can you take this spirit that I feel in you toward the Hebrews in Dimona and impact upon the Knesset and the head of the country?
What I've said today and what I've said in other times I've had opportunity to be in the community. They're not. These are feelings that we have. These are my feelings that I have and feelings that of all the people in Dimona, and in this direction that we meet those that we need to meet. If it's ministers, if it's Knesset members, we need to explain to him all the subjects of the community that these things that we speak of are spoken of to everyone that we speak to, the ministers and to the Knesset members. And I hope that those things that we say to them here, at the end of things, that will come to the conclusions and for the purpose of the community, there will be citizenship of the community.
How long it will take?
He's not a prophet, but you got it. We will continue together with those members of the community until we come to a conclusion. When the Ministry of Housing established a new community in Dimona, a new neighborhood in Dimona, we wanted them to consider having the community to give them at least a part of the community, a part of the neighborhood that they can live there. Unfortunately, the whole neighborhood was already sold, and it has shown us what our feelings are and what our feelings are towards the community.
Kenyon was referring to the desperate need for more housing for the African Hebrew villagers. Currently, families are living in overcrowded homes, and in some cases, as many as 30 people are living in one dwelling. The question still remains, why won't the Israeli government grant citizenship status to a group of peace-loving people? The dilemma seems to be over the African Hebrews' claim that they are the original inhabitants of the land currently referred to as Israel. When you came here, there was a question of whether you had a legal right to be a part. A law was passed, simply stated that if people claim they are Jews, they can come back to the land. Are you claiming you're Jews? What are you claiming?
I am a Hebrew Israelite. My nationality, my tribal origin, I am a Jew. There is a significant difference historically. We must go back and understand that there were 12 tribes making up the family of the 12 tribes of Israel. If you were a descendant of the tribe of Judah, you were a Jew. If you were a descendant of the tribe of Simon, you were a Simonite. Levi, a Levite. To refer to a Levite as a Jew in the days of our fathers would have been very, very insulting. So, never in our true history has the entire nation of Israel been referred to as Jews. When our fathers used the term, it only meant a descendant of the tribe of Judah or one that dwelled in Judea. But when referring to all of us collectively, we were referred to as the children of Israel, Israelites, or Hebrew Israelites. I am a Jew. But when I say that I am a Jew, I am simply referring to my tribal origin. And when I refer to my national origin, I am a Hebrew Israelite. A Hebrew as a descendant of Abraham, and an Israelite as a descendant of Jacob.
I later posed the question to Prince Asiel, what is the biblical proof that connects the African American to Israel?
One of the prophetic keys that we unlocked was in the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter, and the 12th verse to about the 15th verse. It said that a vision came to our father Abraham. He said, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them and afflict them 400 years. And afterwards, I will then bring you back to this land. Then we went to the book of Deuteronomy, 28th chapter, 68th verse, and said, thou shalt go into Egypt again, this time by ships, and there you shall be sold as male and female slaves, and no man shall buy you. Then in order to confirm whether or not the children of Israel were people of African descent, we went to the 10th chapter of Genesis, and we looked at the sons of Ham. Ham, one of the sons of Noah, had 4 sons himself. In the language of the Bible, Cush, Ethiopia, Put, Libya, Mitzrayim, which is a Hebrew word for Egypt, one of the sons, and then Canaan land. Canaan land became Israel.
We consulted a notable biblical scholar who explained one origin of African presence in the Bible. Genesis 10:1 refers to the sons of Noah as Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who themselves had sons after the flood. Genesis 10:6 refers to the Hamites as the sons of Ham, who inhabited North and Northeast Africa. The sons are Cush, which is present-day Ethiopia, Mizraim, present-day Egypt, Put, present-day Libya, and Canaan, which is present-day Palestine, Israel. The African presence is still visible in Israel today. There are thousands of African Palestinians who live in Israel with deep roots to the land, whose ancestors date back for centuries. I met with Ali Jaddah, tour guide, and the informal mayor of the African Palestinians in Old Jerusalem. I asked him about his life and relations between the Afro-Arabs and the Jews.
Well, life for him, I think it's the hell. I'm one of those people who had experienced that. To be Palestinian, that's a big problem. But to be a black Palestinian, I'm quite convinced it will be the hell, because as a black Palestinian, I am double oppressed by the Israelis.
In what way?
In what way? I will explain. First of all, they oppress me as a Palestinian. Secondly, they oppress me because of my color. Whenever I go around in the Israeli side, they call me Kushi. Kushi means nigger. Kushi means nigger.
So, in Israel, the land of God, people who are the brothers of the Arabs, 2 brothers, you are called nigger as I am called nigger in America?
Let's say on the surface, this is what they say, that this is the land of God and we are cousins, and there should be total equality. But once you come to the practice, when you come on ground, you will find that there is a lot of discrimination, and there is a real divorce between what they say and what they exercise.
Blacks and whites who watch the show saying, so why stay? Why stay when you are called nigger every day? Why stay when you are denied your rights?
On the contrary, the more they humiliate me, the more they oppress me, the more I stick to my land. Because this is my land. I'm so rooted. We are deeply rooted as Africans, as Palestinian Africans in this land. And we know pretty well that our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa. The United States. So the more they exercise brutality, the more they exercise oppression against me, the more we are determined to stay, because this is our homeland, and we have a message, we have a holy message that this land should be the land of real peace, not the false peace that they are talking about it now.
As I did the interview, I couldn't help but be amazed at the dismal setting. We were in Old Jerusalem, in the city of walls, sitting in an old jail called Prison's Gate.
It had been built by the Mamluks. The Mamluks.
Which are?
They are Arabs, Muslims who came from Syria and occupied this area. We are talking about the period of 1358. About 600-700 years old, this place. Then afterwards, this place was taken by the Turks, when the Turkish Empire occupied the whole area over here. So those places were transferred to jails. Originally, those places were built for pilgrims, people who come from Mecca, outsiders. So the Mamluks wanted some places where they can stay, where they can serve them, give them food, and they have toilets, all these things. But once the Turks came over here, they transferred those places to prison. In the place you are sitting just now, they used to locate people who were sentenced to life, while in the other section, they used to locate people who were sentenced to death. Okay, I have a dream. I have a dream. It's not only me, all my people over here, that a day will come and we'll have better conditions so that we can move from this prison, you see. But I think it's not only the name that gives it that definition, it's a prison.
And the name is?
In the meantime, I can say the whole area, the whole place that we are living is a prison, is a jail.
Not just this building?
No, not just this building. I'm talking about, in general, about the total situation. You can live in a very bombarded villa, apartment, outside, but you are still in jail because you are deprived of your freedom, freedom of expression. Try to imagine I'm living in a big villa, a millionaire. I have a Pontiac, 1997. Once I go in the street, they call me nigger. So what does it mean? It's nothing. It's nothing in front of my self-dignity, my personal dignity, my human dignity. I think I can talk that we are living in a big jail.
But amidst all the politics is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the site where Christians believe Jesus was crucified, buried, and rose from the dead. On the church's rooftop lies an Ethiopian monastery. A group of gentle Ethiopian monks live in tiny cells on the rooftop monastery. Their sole mission is to protect and guard the site they believe is where Jesus was crucified and buried, and to be caretakers of that property. I was honored to be granted a rare interview with Father Jesus about their commitment. Abba, how long have Ethiopians been in this area?
כמה זמן אתיופים כאן באזור הזה? Over 1,500 years.
So why has it been so difficult for him to hold, for the Ethiopians to hold on to this land.
Lama ze yotermidai kashe lishmor alishaer po b'makom ze. Said, originally we had a number of places here, not just this place, but we were spread out all over this area. Afterwards there was a problem, there was a war. And because of that, only Christians could took this place. And they pressured them and put them out, and then they began to move to establish their tents, residences here on the roof. And now because the Egyptians and the Armenians have taken much of their places here on these holy spots. Okay. Just the area, surrounding area, is theirs here in the old city.
How long can they stay here? How long are they prepared to stay here?
He said they're ready to stay forever, forever long, for however long.
Are you guarding the tomb of Jesus?
He said we are guardians. He said despite the problems with the Egyptians and the Armenians and others, we are guardians and we are here to maintain that.
And what makes him stay?
He said, I added because the life is very hard here. He said the life is not hard here. He said he remains because he desires to maintain a holy a presence, to pray holy prayers and maintain the African presence here.
As I continued to trace the African presence in Israel, I journeyed to a town called Rahat, where I met with B.E.T. And while he's also an Afro-Arab, his experiences in Israel are quite different from Ali Jadah's in Old Jerusalem. How do you get along with the Israeli government?
He said nobody is bothering or disturbing them. They live here freely. He's saying nobody's bothering them. The children are able to run freely and they're without any problems. They have good relationships and everything is open.
So then what opinion does he have of African Americans?
The time is, he hopes and prays that the blacks in America begin to become unified and work together to overcome the situations that exist for them at this point.
So if he had a message to give to African Americans on how we can do that, what would that message be?
הם צריך להיות להם מנהיג טוב. הוא יכול להוציא אותם מהבוץ, הוא יכול לחזק אותם ולא יהיו פלגים.
He says black Americans need strong leadership, sincere leadership that will lead and guide them in the right manner.
What does he see as our future?
מה אתה רואה לעתיד לשחורים?
תמיד שיהיו עבדים ללבנים.
He said that black Americans have continued to be slaves to white America. And if you don't develop that strong leadership and begin to work in solidarity hand in hand, there will be no future. There is no future. He sees no future.
Ironically, Mr. B.E.T. felt there was no future for African Americans if we didn't start working together as a people. I noticed that the African Hebrew Israelites in Dimona were already practicing unity. Many of them live in a section of Dimona they have named the Village of Peace. They have a communal lifestyle similar to a kibbutz, The only difference is they don't have the agricultural component. Village members share everything, including the community cafeteria to the guest house, as well as each other's bathrooms. Sharing is a way of life, and it begins at breakfast when the women of the village come together in joyful harmony to prepare the meals of the day. No child goes hungry, and every effort is made to see that every child has a breakfast and lunch. Dinner is a family event, served in the home. These transplanted African Americans have given up soul food as a traditional mainstay in their diet. The African Hebrew Israelites adhere to a strict vegetarian way. Their diets are devoid of meat and dairy products. Tofu forms the basis for a majority of the meals, but don't think the food isn't delicious. We visited a tofu processing factory and got the surprise of our lives when we learned the number of ways tofu can be prepared. From milk to fancy spreads to ice cream, the Hebrew Israelites have become experts at making tofu taste like ordinary food. Almost everything used by the villagers is made in the Village of Peace. The first thing we noticed was the spectacular array of clothing worn by everyone, all made in the sewing center, one of the busiest hubs in the village.
Approximately 95% of everything that we wear is made right here in this facility.
Can the women just come at will and sew, or do they have to have an appointment?
Well, they have to have appointments. However, when there's an open spot, they can just come and sit down.
The Village of Peace in Dimona is a place where a holistic way of life is at the core of everything, from what they eat to what they wear, and even to giving birth. The House of Life healthcare facility is almost exclusively a birthing center. The villagers credit the phenomenon to the healthiness of the community based on a holistic lifestyle. Since opening in 1971, more than 700 babies were born without drugs or unnecessary surgery.
This is the birthing room. Right. We're brought into an environment, first of all, that's holy, that's quiet. We have our own midwives, so it's an uncomfortable atmosphere, as well as one of our priesthood stands outside of the door reading certain prayers so that the mother will be more relaxed and more comfortable, and the baby will come into a world, and one of the first things he'll hear is a prayer, the words of Yah.
The villagers believe that everything they do must be to the glory of God. The teachings begin with the very young, the future of the village, the children. The villagers sacrificed everything to build a school for their children, a school that has become the center for education for the whole community. A second-grade teacher whose teaching technique has become a model in Israel is Samaki about Israel. She shows us why her students learn so quickly. In the United States, there's a book called The Bell Curve. It says that children who are born in poverty, black children, cannot learn. These children came to a bomb shelter. How do you respond to the theory that the environment impacts on learning?
Well, it goes back again to the environment, as you stated. It's a positive environment, an enriching environment, and children, I don't think there's not a child in the world that is not able to learn. First of all, I say again, you have to facilitate the environment with positivity, with projection. And then that child sees that, and he's willing in all desire to be molded in that way that you want him to be molded in.
Final question. There is an argument, a debate in the United States that religion cannot be taught in school. We notice, we watch this class, that religion, spirituality is a part of it. How do you feel about the American debate?
First of all, let's go back and make a slight correction here. Correction I like to make is the fact that religion. In our lifestyle here, our lifestyle is based upon the Holy Scriptures. And I like to say that in our lifestyle, it's not religion, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle the children pray when they enter the classroom. It's a lifestyle of the diet the children eat. It's a lifestyle of the divine dress code. Everything we do here is a divine lifestyle.
The children were anxious to show us how much they had learned, so they gathered together in the school courtyard for a special Our Voices tribute.
We are now am going to recite the 7 prophetic stations of the kingdom of Yah. Holla. 1. Exodus coming out of America 1967. 2. The establishment of the kingdom of Yah. 3. The formulation of the doctrine of the kingdom of Yah. 4. The head of the kingdom of Yah. 5. To acknowledge the holy Shabbat day. 6. Pray whether in the flesh or in the spirit toward the holy temple of Yah, or to rule in the spiritually sanctified redemptive struggle. Look at me, I'm a testimony. Look at me, I'm a testimony. I get your rope and my tag, and I'm safe and satisfied. Look at me, I'm a testimony. You are my strength when I was weak. You are my voice when I couldn't speak. You are my eyes when I couldn't see. It's all the best that was for me. You lift me up when I couldn't reach. You gave me faith when you believe. I'm everything I am because you love me. You gave me wings to make me fly. You touched my hand, I can touch the sky. I lost my faith, you gave it back to me. You said the stars were right to reach. You stood by me and I stood tall. I had your love, I had it all. I'm forever thankful.
Despite the trials and tribulations they face in Israel, the villagers have managed to carve out a way of life. New families are constantly beginning. Weddings are a major celebration in the village, and sometimes the ceremony doubles. And there is singing and dancing and celebration when Prophetic Destiny, the village's star singing group, did a final performance the night before they left for a tour in Nigeria, Africa. And what you have seen is only a part of our journey in Israel, as we search for an answer to the question, why Israel and not Africa?
Well, there you have it, my brothers and sisters. You got the whole story in the matter. Just want to bring some things out from the video. Notice how they changed the law when my people got into the land to have citizenship. And if you follow up with some more current videos, you will find out that my people still do not have citizenship unless they do a service in their military. That is how they can only gain citizenship, which is passed on to their children and wives. Another thing I want to bring out, check the video description box, because I will add the video dealing with the tribe of Dan, because there are prophetic messages that relate to the tribe of Dan. Today they call them the Ethiopian Jews. And the tribe of Dan prophecies can be found in Genesis and the book of Deuteronomy, and with Revelations, and with the book of Ezra, to understand where would the tribe of Dan come into play. When you watch that video, it'll give you more insight why the tribe of Dan has joined themselves to the synagogue of Satan. But notice that the people of Damona is totally different and separate from the synagogue of Satan. When you do a further study about the conversion to be a Jewish person today, You will learn that you will have to denounce the Messiah. Yes. But my people did not partake in their conversion, in their way of doing things, in their way of life. They were following the Torah, okay? What the word had taught them, all right? So I hope this video was very helpful so you can understand why the Negroes are the children of Israel. And if you notice in the video, the spokesperson still didn't understand the answer to her question. Why Israel? Because Israel is in Northeast Africa, okay? And the land of Israel falls on the African continent. Look it up. Therefore, the children of Israel are Negroes. And the video provides so much proof. All right, my family, continue to read the gospel that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make sure continue to preach the gospel that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make sure the people who are Israelites, Gentiles, males, females, bond, free, circumcised, uncircumcised, Scythian, barbarian, etc., make sure they receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10 and baptize them in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and of the Holy Spirit baptism. And the apostles continue with them, which is confirmed and written in the book of Acts. Okay? And I just want to close this out. If you don't understand anything in this video, if you don't understand anything, let's see, can I get here? I want you to seek Yah. Read Luke 11 verse 9 to 13, because when you have faith, you know our Father in heaven will answer your prayers. And this video is the conclusion of the True Israelites in the Holy Land 1997 video by B.E.T. But please make sure you seek Yah in all things. Stop seeking out man like that man said in that video. We don't follow the doctrines of man. We follow Yah. We follow his word and his doctrines. And we have faith in his word because his word tells us who we are. See, we don't need DNA. We have spirit. And that's the most powerful thing than anything that man can provide. So read Luke 11, 9 to 13. Seek Yahuwah in all things, for our Father has given us the Messiah spirit, which is the comforter. And only through the comforter can he bring the fullness of Yah. Read 1 John chapter 2 verse 27 and John chapter 14 to John chapter 16. And I close out in prayer. In the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, Father, I plead the blood of the Lamb upon this video and the links that are attached. Let this truth go forth throughout the four corners of the earth. Continue, Father, to give the Negroes who are the children of Israel understanding of this awakening. For they must repent and return back unto you, because soon the door of salvation is closing. Soon the wicked one shall come and reign for 3.5 years. And we don't want to face that. So we pray for our brothers and sisters that they will awaken to who they truly are and return back unto you, Father. We also pray for our Gentile brothers and sisters that they stand for you, because they're going to be tested too. See, those who don't cleave to Israel, they're going to suffer. They're going to be cut off. So we pray for you, my brothers and sisters who are Gentile, that you be like Rahab, that you be like Ruth, and that you stand up for righteousness, and that you cleave to the house of Israel, because Satan's going to shift you too. And your own nation of people shall denounce you, cut you off, and come against you. So you too need to be prepared. And Father, for anything I have not prayed in this prayer, that we ask you that you fulfill it according to your will. In the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, so be it. One last thing I forgot to mention, and this is dealing with my people, Demona, to understand why they are there, read Zechariah chapter 14, Ezekiel chapter 38 to Ezekiel chapter 39, and also read the book of Revelation, which is chapter 20. For in any story, that everybody has a part to play. And only y'all know how everything shall go down. When you don't understand why they are there, or you don't understand anything else, seek him and be patient, for he shall give you the answer at his appointed time. I love you all, and Shalom. And do you know who that peace that is with you? Think about it. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20.